Hello, twisted humans.
Do you find yourself wanting to know more about the latest murder, conspiracy, cult, or haunting?
Then this is the podcast for you. I'm Alicia.
And I'm Sierra, and this is
Twisted and Uncorked. Hello and welcome to episode 42. It is a Sierra-centric episode. Woo!
Yay!
You're like, that's me! Welcome, and I think Sierra's got a pretty crazy case for us today. I don't know. I keep looking at her, like, trying to get something, and I'm getting nothing. So, yeah. Do you have a fun fact for me, Sierra?
I do.
Kick off today.
Listen, first of all, I want to say happy almost Thanksgiving.
Yes, happy almost Thanksgiving.
For Americans anyway, this episode comes out 2 days before Thanksgiving. So I hope that you have the most awkward time with your family, because that's what makes a good story. Write us in, tell us all about it.
Yeah.
It'll be great.
Everybody has a crazy family member that they really don't want to have dinner with.
Yeah, I don't even, really celebrate Thanksgiving with family anymore because, man, it gets crazy. We just invite my mother-in-law to our house, and we're just like, let's just have dinner! You know? I mean, we can still feel the feelings of the thankfulness, but
yes,
for the most part, it's not a whole family gathering. No, thank you. My family's insane, but
I haven't done that since I was younger, so, and I do kind of miss it, but I was always trapped at the kids' table, even though we were all in our, early 20s to early 30s, so it still counts.
Haven't done it. Well, I guess I did it a couple times after that, but that's when it got super awkward. My grandfather, who was murdered, his favorite holiday was Thanksgiving. Aww. And so we always went to his house and made so much food and had such a crazy, honestly, time, because that's how my family is insane. But ever since then, we try to replicate the, we miss you, Grandpa kind of dinner, and it just gets weirder and weirder. He was kind of like the glue that held everybody together, so it's like, nah, I'm good.
R.I.P. sweet Grandpa. And if you want to know more about that tragic story, you can go listen to our Listener Tales Volume 1.
Yeah.
In case Sierra has not demonstrated enough to you how much of a fucking badass she is, you will understand why.
I don't know if badass is the right words.
You are the strongest person that I know. Half the shit that you've told me you've done, I would have fallen apart. And you were like, doo-doo-doo. Little...
Yeah. Just keep going. You just keep
going. Yeah, head down, power through. Get your glass of wine ready. Or your sangria. But before that...
Yeah, so the fun fact that I found for today made me tear up when I found it.
Oh, God, I'm not ready for that.
It is... Oh, no, I don't think... You'll understand why I said that after you hear it, because it has this strong relation to me. Okay. So, the fun fact is, 14 years after the Trail of Tears, the Choctaw donated $170 to the victims of the potato famine in Ireland, though they had little to give. This generosity created a bond between the two peoples that lasts to today. In 2018, Ireland created a scholarship for Choctaw youth, saying to them, "Your act of kindness has never been and never will be forgotten in Ireland."
My heart.
And that's from the History Hustle Facebook page. But
that's really sweet. Yeah, that's pretty you right there.
With my Irish, heritage and my Choctaw spirit guide, it's like,
That was very cool. That made me cheer up. I don't think you know how much of an empath I am. God.
Yeah. I was just scrolling on Facebook like I do when I'm bored. And I saw this and I started reading it and I was just like crying on my phone. Yeah. Like, oh my God, this is the sweetest thing I've ever heard.
I love it so much.
Tell me your fun fact.
In the 18th century, England, pineapples were a status symbol. Those who were rich enough to own a pineapple would carry them around to signify their personal wealth and high-class status. In that day and age, everything from clothing to houseware was decorated with tropical fruit.
This makes my Leo daughter so much more understandable, right? Like, she fucking loves the color yellow, and because of that, pineapples. And of course, she's a Leo because she is the queen, okay?
Yeah,
don't tell her otherwise.
Yeah, definitely. But also, pineapples, like, would not have been comfortable to carry around. Like, I hate cutting pineapple because it hurts my hands. So what are you doing with it? Like,
crazy
carrying it like a baby? Like a bag of flour? Like, what is happening?
It's so crazy to me, the things that people have decided to eat.
I know!
Pineapples, for one, they hurt you.
Yeah.
Who decided to cut into that to see what was on the inside?
It was like they were holding it as a high status symbol in the 18th century, and somebody was like, ow, fuck, and dropped it. And then they saw all this yellow juice coming out, and they were like, ooh, maybe that's good. And then they picked it up, and they licked their finger, and they were like, ooh, that is good. And that's how they ate pineapple.
Okay, explain to me onions. They literally cut it up and their eyes watered. They cried and they were like, I'm going to put this in my mouth now.
I don't have an explanation for onions.
Who decided these things? Like, I mean, I'm glad. I love pineapples and I love onions, but like...
Not together necessarily, but...
randomly found a fruit or vegetable or plant in the woods and I cut it and my eyes started watering uncontrollably,
I would not eat it.
This is poison. I can't eat this. Like, no, it's poisonous. Oh my goodness.
Speaking of cutting onions and crying, while we're on our fun fact segment, I learned that chewing gum while you cut onions helps.
Oh, you want to know what I learned on TikTok?
What?
On Fact or Cap. I fucking love them because they are the realest. If you put a wet paper towel... if you put a wet paper towel on the cutting board with the onion while you're cutting it, you won't cry. Onions,
like under the onion? Or on top of the onion?
Just next to it. Just next to it while you're cutting. Onions, the reason that you cry is because they absorb, like, attract water, and your eyes are the closest water source to them. So if you have a paper towel that is wet next to you, it'll just attract that water, and you won't cry. And it works. I've done it. Now I will not cut onions without a wet paper towel.
I'm going to try that instead of gum next time. And something about having, like...
Thank you, TikTok.
A super sharp knife helps, too. Because it releases less of the gases while you're cutting it. I don't know. Don't cut off your fingers. Use that wet paper towel. And if you don't have paper towel, chew some gum. And if you don't have gum,
wet
wear
anything,
goggles.
Really. Do it next to some water. Maybe that's why they ate it. Because back, in the hunter-gatherer days, everybody lived next to water. Right? They always had a water source. So they didn't feel the effects to their eyes.
There you go.
Crazy.
But onions are still smelly and unpredictable, so I'm still not sold on that, but I love the theory. Yeah. Guys, if you have theories on fruits or vegetables in time and why we started eating them, let us know, because that's kind of funny.
Yeah, send
whole
us
episode
fun
on
facts.
Fruit and vegetable. Yeah, send us in fun facts. We'll do like a listener fun fact episode or something one day.
Only fun facts. Sorry for the tangent. This was a longer one today. We have sangria today. We are drinking our cranberry wine from last week. However, I found this recipe on Ocean Spray's website for what you should mix cranberry juice with. So, hot tip, if you are not drinking alcohol, you can do this as well. Just replace the cranberry wine with cranberry juice, and don't put in the alcohol. So the recipe was for cranberry juice with vodka And then it was kind of like a cranberry, what is that thing called? Moscow Mule. Like a Moscow Mule, but cranberry.
Which is funny that you say that, because my family makes these every Christmas, but like the Moscow Mule version of them. And my dad calls them Christmas mules. So that's why I got really excited when you sent me this recipe. I was like, oh, I love that combination. So
yeah, so
it's very good.
Their recipe was for, like I said, cranberry juice with vodka and ginger beer. I didn't want to do too many different alcohols. We were already putting in cranberry wine instead of cranberry juice. I still put the vodka, but instead of ginger beer, we did seltzer water and cinnamon stick, so it kind of still gives that same flavor. The biggest part of this one and of the one that they gave is the rosemary. So you put in, obviously, rosemary for garnish, but also rosemary simple syrup. And you kind of have to make your own. I went the lazy route and used my own simple syrup and just kind of muddled rosemary into it. And I wish I would have done the whole boil because I feel like I didn't get enough of the rosemary flavor.
Fair.
But it's still really good.
Mm-hmm. I did a kind of lazy version of that too. I just boiled a kettle and put rosemary leaves and sugar in it and like stirred it to thicken. So
well, that's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah. But I thought you were supposed to, like, boil it in a pot. I just used, like, boiling water and put it in a cup and did it that way. So, a little bit of a quicker route.
Yeah. What do you rate this drink?
I would definitely rate this, like, an 8.5, 9. I really like it. And ginger beer is usually my favorite part of that drink with that combination of cranberry and rosemary, and I really like it with the cranberry wine too. So good pick, good alteration to this recipe. Yeah, I don't know if you're getting in fights with the drink recipes too, but you let me know. It took you a second to figure out what I was talking about.
The altercations, yeah.
Don't get in fights, okay?
But yeah, no, I think with the ginger beer it would be better. I think around Thanksgiving, which for you all is in 2 days, I'm gonna try it the correct way without the wine, with the juice, with the ginger beer. Yeah, the way that Ocean Spray had it made as like a holiday drink.
Yeah,
but
it's fun.
That's because Jesse doesn't like wine. It like sours up his jaw, and it like he gets lockjaw from it. So
he's definitely not going to want this.
Right. For me, because this is a wine version, this is really good. It is still a little too sour for me. So I think I would say it's like a 7.5.
I wonder if you would put a little bit of cranberry juice in it too, if that would have made a difference, because that's what I ended up doing to make it a little sweeter. So, Sierra, what are you covering for an episode today?
I am doing an unsolved case today.
Okay.
Today I am doing something extremely stereotypical of a true crime mystery podcaster.
Oh.
I will be covering a story that all of you have heard, I guarantee, but you're already here, and of course I have my own spin on it and theories, so please do not turn it off. Listen to the end. This is kind of an important update. Yeah. I've recently binged the true crime paranormal podcast called And That's Why We Drink from start to finish, and one of their listener story episodes from very early on, someone wrote in about a relative of theirs being involved in a popular crime legend. One that has been my favorite for a very long time, and I was like fangirling when I was listening to them read the story of a person who was related, like 6 degrees of separation here, but I was like, oh my god, this is so cool.
It's kind of like how we felt when our patron Kathleen joined, who is a relative of Madison from our first recap, Murder on Middle Beach.
Yes.
It's fucked up as it is, Sierra, and I definitely did a little fangirl thing. Hello, Kathleen. Thank you for being a patron.
Yes. It was awesome.
So I get what you mean.
Right. Okay. So the same day that I listened to that listener story episode, which I listened to in August, this past August, but it came out in 2018, 2019, so long ago. I was like playing catch up since the very first episode. So it was a really early episode.
Yeah.
But the same day I listened to it, me and my husband watched an episode that was new that day of Expedition Unknown together. And it was about this same legendary incident. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is like fate or some weird synchronicity.
Hey, like my case last week.
Yes,
you know, something's telling you to do it.
Yes, I had to cover this story. By the way, I don't know if I've ever mentioned this before, but Josh Gates from Expedition Unknown is literally like my hero. I love him so fucking much for his personality.
You've not mentioned this to me. No.
Yeah, no. His looks, take it or leave it. But his personality, even though it, may or may not be real outside of TV, is
he looks like
amazing.
He would be sarcastic.
No. He is first of all, he has the coolest job in the entire universe. But he is like the punniest person ever. I fucking love a good pun.
I love puns.
He puns all day long. It's amazing. I fucking love it.
That's why I love dad jokes so much.
Yes, that's what it is. It's just dad jokes the whole time.
Yes,
it's fucking hilarious.
I gotta check it out.
In the silliest, goofiest way.
I love that.
But like him and his show is the reason I took so many anthropology and archaeology classes. Yeah, so like Josh Gates, if you're listening to this for whatever reason, if you ever want to retire, I will take your place, buddy. I'm here.
I was gonna say, I thought you were gonna lead with, "Hey, if you want to come on the show," but no, she went with, "No, "I'm gonna take your job."
Yes, please. I'm sure your wife wants you.
But
home.
also, if you want to come on the show, do that too.
For sure. Yeah,
you and Sierra can work out a weird contract.
He's fucking awesome. Anyway, so this is
okay.
This is the case that I was going to cover for my September Patreon bonus when I decided to do this man instead, because I really wanted more time to make it really good. And also, I kind of wanted to wait until this week to post it because of the significance. So, I know you already looked up Josh Gates. Please don't be looking up episodes.
I'm not. No, I just wanted to see what he looked like. I couldn't put a face to a name.
So. I want you to guess. Do you know what story I'm covering? It's an unsolved crime story. Nope. I would go as far as to say it's my favorite crime to have ever been committed. So it's definitely not a murder. I do not condone murder.
Okay. There's nothing to say. Well, there's a lot to say that he was murdered, but okay. I don't know. Tell me. Okay. I'm too excited.
I'm not going to tell you. I am just going to start talking about the story. And when you finally get it, our YouTubers will see your face change.
Okay. My facial expressions are a fun time for people, I've heard.
Yes. So a little more information real quick. This story takes place on November 24th, 1971. If you're listening to this, tomorrow, the day that it's released, tomorrow is the 50th anniversary of this incident. It occurred on the day before Thanksgiving, which is tomorrow. Still nothing? People are yelling at the podcast right now, and we can't hear them, but it's great.
I do this to podcasts when I listen to them, too. I'm like, no, it's this! So, I hear you.
Ready?
Okay, yes.
Leave yourself unmuted, because you're going to get it quickly.
Okay.
On November 24th, 1971, a man walked into the Portland International Airport and bought a one-way ticket to Seattle-Tacoma International Airport. Because of the holiday weekend, the airport was bustling with people planning to travel to see loved ones. But this particular flight, going from Portland to Seattle, wasn't very full at all because the distance was so short. It was only a 30-minute flight, and more people would rather drive to Seattle from Portland than fly.
Yeah.
The man who purchased this one-way ticket wasn't going to see family this weekend, and driving wouldn't have allowed him to accomplish his goal on this day. He needed to fly. He boarded the plane, flight 305, and went to the back row, middle seat on the right side. He sat down quietly and respectfully and ordered a bourbon and soda. Still nothing yet?
in my head, but I can't think of the name.
Oh, yes, you can. Hang on.
Is there Okay, keep
Other
going.
Passengers on the flight remember the man as being thin with dark hair and olive skin, in his mid-40s, wearing a business suit with a black tie and a white shirt and sunglasses. The sunglasses were actually the main reason why people took note of him in the first place. Why would a man be wearing sunglasses
inside
on a plane?
Well, yeah, that too.
Well, side note, definitely keep your eyes on the person who decides to wear sunglasses indoors, but also don't judge a book by its cover, because Jesse literally wears sunglasses everywhere. I have to remind him when we go into the bank that you have to take them all off, or else the tellers are gonna, like, hit the silent alarm. Okay. You got it yet?
D.B Cooper?
Everyone is... Yes.
Okay.
I was like, everyone is screaming at you, okay?
No, in my head, I was like, oh, his name's not a real name. Like, it's like... Okay. Yes, guys, sorry.
As Flight 305 was starting to take off, the stewardess, Florence, aka Flo, and Tina...
That's so cute.
Were starting to tend to their guests. Again, this is 1971, so these ladies are literally there to cater to the men flying and allow them to look at their beauty. Oh my god, so I was watching a documentary about this, and they were showing...
to look at their beauty.
No, listen, they were showing old commercials about trying to market air travel, and the commercials were super gross and
offensive?
Creepy.
Yeah.
One of the commercials was a man talking in a seductive voice while a girl was rubbing her leg. And he was like, when a hostess meets you on an airplane, she'll be dressed like this.
Ew.
And another commercial, I'm not even kidding you. This commercial said, quote, "For every daughter that our passengers give us, they're getting back a daughter and a half."
Ew!
Ew. Fucking ew. What the hell? Kidding me? Who does that? A daughter and a half? Why are you thinking about these hot women inside. As your daughter?
I am vomiting
No. Okay, sorry. I hated it so much.
No, that's really fucking gross.
I had to rewind it and replay it like 4 times, and then I turned on
just to confirm that you heard exactly what you thought you did?
Well, then I turned on the captions, and it said dollar. It wrote dollar instead of daughter, and I was like, no, there's a T in that word. I can hear him saying daughter.
Nice save, like, guys.
Trying to cover that up.
Gross.
Oh, God.
So gross. Okay, so D.B Cooper, I'm excited.
Yes. Okay, let me continue.
And don't sell your children to airlines. Like you just said, for every daughter you give up.
Girls, right. Yeah. Don't look at hot girls and compare them to your daughter. That's disgusting.
That's so fucking gross. That's another can of worms.
Yeah.
Ugh.
As Flo got to the back of the plane to tend to this man in sunglasses, he handed her a note. Because it's the 70s and she's literally hired to be an object for these men to oogle over, she assumed the note was a phone number or a hotel address or some other means of this man hitting on her, and so she stuck the note in her pocket and walked away, probably rolling her eyes as soon as he couldn't see.
Yeah.
I would.
My life. Yeah.
But when she started walking away from him, the man called out to her and said, "Miss, I think you ought to read that note." So she opened it up and read it, then dropped it on the ground and sat down in the aisle seat right next to him. Tina, the other stewardess, was thinking, what is she doing? The plane is getting off into the air. She's supposed to be back here in the stewardess area with me.
Yeah.
And then she noticed Flo point at the note she had dropped. Tina picked up the note and read what the man had written in all block letters.
Like capital letters?
Yeah.
Okay.
It said that he had a bomb in his briefcase, and this was a hijacking.
Oh, no.
In the 1970s, hijackings were not uncommon. This happened literally all the time. It was no big deal. I heard one person report that between the years of 1968 and 1972, a plane was hijacked every 5 days. For 4 years, every 5 days, a plane was hijacked.
That's insane.
Yeah.
I don't like that as a statistic.
Right. And people actually usually didn't get too upset when a plane was hijacked. Like, it was not a big deal.
That's even a weirder thought.
Right. Well, whoever the hijacker was, usually he had a gun. He threatened the pilot, not anyone else, and told the pilot, take me out of the country to, like, Mexico or Cuba or something. And the pilot listened. He would go to Mexico or Cuba. The hijacker would be arrested as soon as they landed. And everyone who was on board got a free little vacation for their troubles of having been witness to this. They got their hotels paid for. They got some compensation for drinks. Like, people were like,
wasn't a bad deal for them.
Man, I hope this plane gets hijacked today. I want to go to Mexico.
Okay, who the fuck was... Nobody was thinking that when they got on a plane.
They were definitely thinking that. Okay, these businessmen who were working 9-to-5 jobs for their whole life, they were like, man, I wish we could just go to Cuba today.
Yeah, right. It would be really nice to see a beach this afternoon.
Right. Get me... What's that fucking song that everyone is singing right now? I'm an Island Boy.
Oh, yeah.
That.
Yeah.
They just wanted to be island boys, okay?
Okay. Fair.
By the way, I have no idea what that means. Please don't come at me.
I don't either. Yeah.
I just
know it means something inappropriate. Right. We didn't know.
Everyone's making memes about it. That's all I know.
Yeah, don't add us, please. Or do it in a nice way and tell us what it means.
Right. So this hijacking was different. This was a bomb, not a gun, and the note had many more details than someone simply asking to leave the country. The note required that the man be given $200,000 and 4 parachutes as soon as they landed in Seattle, and to have a fuel truck waiting and ready to refuel the plane to take off again to Mexico. Tina called the pilots and let them know that there was a hijacking on the plane and that this was a serious and real threat and that she was going to send Flo up with the hijackers' demands. Tina and Flo then switched places, which, by the way, fucking Tina is the real MVP. She was like, oh my god, poor Flo, let me take over. Like Flo was already there. Flo was already sitting there. Flo was already stuck. And Tina was like, no, this isn't okay. I'll do it. Like, she's sacrificing herself.
It's really badass.
Yes. Flo went up to the front of the plane to speak with the pilots about how to continue with the situation. And Tina was told by this man to sit down next to him and give him back his note. So, technically, no one knows what the note actually said because he wanted it back. He didn't want it to be analyzed. Once the pilots knew what was going on, they were able to inform the airport, with the help of Flo's information, about what they were dealing with up in the air. Immediately, the FBI got involved, gathered up $200,000 of traceable money, and started working on getting the refuel trucks ready. Getting the entire team in place and ready for landing, though, took about 2 hours. This was supposed to be a 30-minute flight that left at 2:50 p.m.
How did it take 2 hours?
Because they had to find $200,000. They had to find 4 parachutes. They had to get the FBI there. They had to get the fuel trucks ready. They didn't want to just land the plane and, this guy is, doesn't have a gun drawn on him or something. Like, who knows what's about to happen.
That's true. Fair.
But the flight left at 2:50, and the hijacker wanted his money by 5 o'clock. This was taking 2 hours, so it was like 4:50. They were getting really nervous that this wasn't going to end well. Like, they only had 10 minutes before this guy allegedly was going to blow this place up.
Yeah.
So,
yikes.
For that whole 2 hours while they waited for everything to get into place, the plane flew in circles above a body of water nearby the Seattle-Tacoma International Airport. And later, stewardess Tina said that the reason they flew above a body of water was because Some people had doubts about getting everything into place, and when the bomb went off, they would rather the plane and the bodies of the passengers be spilled into the water instead of raining down onto other airport customers.
Oh my god. Okay, that's kind of really fucking sweet, but at the same time, so
morbid as fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like...
It makes sense.
Thanks if you're a customer, but also fuck if you're in that plane.
Thanks. I hate that. Ugh.
Yeah.
I really am not good at flying. Like, me coming as far as I did to see you was a huge deal. I'm just saying. But to be in that situation and to be as calm as these women are being is just insane to me. Like,
I can't imagine.
No. I mean, I know that they train flight attendants for this.
Right.
But still, like...
Yeah, there's so many times in my life that I wanted to be a flight attendant, and this was never something on the list of things that I thought I would have to do.
Yeah, totally. I know a lot of people that started doing it, like, right after high school, did it for a few years, and then just couldn't anymore, because they put you through constant stress tests.
Right.
Like, it's... So, like you said, the real MVP, because I couldn't fucking do this.
Yes, seriously. So while all of this was happening up in the air, the police and FBI back in Portland were trying to figure out who this man was. Buying a plane ticket at the time was very easy. Airplanes were new, there were no air laws or airport security. You would go up to the counter, tell them where you wanted to go, give them money, and write down your own name, and then take yourself and your luggage to the correct plane. You didn't even have to, like, show ID, have your bags inspected.
Ridiculous.
Nothing. The man who was sitting in this seat had written down his name as being Dan Cooper. Eventually, things were starting to go as planned for Dan Cooper at the Seattle airport. All the shades had been pulled down so the passengers didn't know what was going on outside. Passengers did notice that after the plane had finally landed, after what they were told were mechanical difficulties that required them to remain in the air, which, by the way, who has mechanical difficulties and then still flies? Yeah, like, I would be like, get this on the fucking ground now? Like,
yeah, I would be like, can we get away from the water? Like,
yeah.
Excuse you.
But they did notice that Tina had exited the plane first, walked out to a black vehicle, and then got back onto the plane with a black duffel bag. So they're like, some kind of handoff is happening right now. When she handed Dan his money and his parachutes, she asked him if the hostages could leave the plane. He allowed everyone except Tina and the 2 pilots to exit. So, like,
every time you say Tina, I think Tina Belcher, too.
Oh my gosh.
That's also, like... Tina Belcher's fucking awesome, so...
I don't watch Bob's Burgers, but every time I say Tina, I think of the llama from... what is that? What is that? What is that movie called?
Oh, hold on.
What is that movie called?
Tina the llama.
Tina, eat your dinner.
Napoleon Dynamite.
Yes. That's the only thing I think of every time I say Tina. Tina, come eat your dinner. Gosh.
That movie is classic.
It is.
The fucking grapefruits, I can't.
Okay, sorry. But again,
Tina is a fucking hero.
A fucking hero. Like, she is
whether
literally...
she's a llama or a very confusing teenage girl.
Even like Flo, she let Flo get off the plane. She's like, I got this, girl. I'm gonna do this.
I got it. I'm calm. I got it.
Yeah. So now there were 4 people on the plane. Dan Cooper, Tina, and 2 pilots, and 4 parachutes. Okay. The rumored idea here was that Dan wanted the FBI to think they were all gonna jump from the plane. So if there was any funny business with the parachutes, an innocent person could get hurt. And the pilots definitely thought that too. They thought they were all going to have to jump. They were expecting to jump. Obviously, that is not what's going to happen. Once the passengers were off and the plane was refueled, they took off again and headed for Mexico. Dan had asked that the plane take off with the back door stairs lowered, but the pilots refused, saying that it could cause sparks and then an explosion. Instead, they agreed to lower the stairs once the plane was in the air already. Sorry.
Every time you pause, I'm like, is she okay? And then you turn your head the same way every time, and then that noise comes out.
I apologize.
I love you for who you are. It's fine. Dragon farts and all.
Seltzer water, damn it.
I know! Every time. You know what? I can't say that it's the bubbly water because we have alcohol burps all the time. You and I seem to get those.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Okay. Dan also instructed them to fly at the lowest speed the plane could go and at the lowest altitude possible. So he actually said, this many knots and this high off the ground. He knew what the specific speeds and heights were. I just don't know what they mean in relation to the ground. So it's the slowest and the lowest, and that's all we need to know. Also, one of the reasons for this may be because military planes were sent out to follow this plane to see what was going to happen, but they literally were not able to keep the same pace because it was too slow. The military planes just kept flying past over and over again. Military planes could not be slowed down as much as this plane. It was weird. So slow. Yeah. On this second trip now from Seattle, Tacoma to, towards Mexico. They weren't going to make it to Mexico, but Dan didn't care that much. He was going to jump out anyway. Tina was still sitting next to Dan, and she noticed that he was visibly more nervous now. The weather wasn't great. It was raining and dark, and there was lightning. He was chain smoking and having Tina light his cigarettes for him, one after
also
another.
Weird to think about smoking on a plane.
Right? That is not allowed.
I know. I'm like, wait, he's chain smoking on the plane?
Yeah.
Sorry, eventually, just a random aside because it was the 70s.
The 70s. God. What a time. 50 fucking 60s. Years ago, guys. It was 50 years ago.
That's insane.
When I think 70s, I think 30 years ago.
I know.
It was 50 fucking years ago.
Yeah. Especially because my parents were, born in the 70s, so I'm like, yeah. I look at them as being timeless also, so it's like, what?
Yeah, it's really insane. Eventually, Dan got up, strapped the money to his body with one of the parachute cords. So he, ripped open a parachute and cut up the cords and wrapped the money around his body with it. Then he put on one of the different parachutes, unopened, obviously, and asked Tina to open the back door and lower the stairs. Tina hesitated and showed him how to do it instead. She was terrified that she would be pulled out of the plane as soon as the doors opened. Which, by the way, same. Haven't you always been, told and taught that, if a plane opens, everything gets sucked out of it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't actually happen.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to be like, oh, yeah, that fucking
no.
happens.
No.
Because I read...
That's what Tina thought,
I heard
too.
Ugh.
She was terrified. She's like, I'm not going to fucking open that shit.
Yeah.
But she showed him how to do it, and Dan was like, okay, fine. Thank you for showing me. Go sit up front with the crew, the pilots. Not a big deal. Shut the door behind you. As soon as you shut the door, I'll do this myself. I get that you're scared, but I'm not.
Okay. He should be, but okay.
As soon as she went up there, the three up front heard the back door open. Dan tried to get the stairs to come down the way he was told, but then he grabbed the phone and called up to the front of the plane to the pilot saying it's not working. So obviously he didn't get sucked out. He literally called them. That doesn't happen. You're not going to get sucked out. It's fine. That's one of those scary truths that your parents always told you. don't take a shower during a thunderstorm or you could get electrocuted by lightning.
Who said that to you?
Every adult I've ever known. It's not true.
I should hope not. But I did I did hear a story about somebody that, like, it was while the plane was in the air and the window broke somehow and the lady that was in that seat, like, got, like, pulled out. So.
I mean, I'm sure if you're, like, unaware and not prepared for it, you could, you know.
Yeah, true. True enough. Always wear your seatbelt on a plane, guys. If that's not the takeaway here, I don't know what is.
The pilots slowed down some more and told Dan, go ahead, try again. But they never heard anything from Dan again. He never responded. There was a loud noise of the stairs springing back up into place eventually. So the crew was like, okay, that must have been where he jumped, right? But realistically, he could have jumped out at any time since the call was made to the front. Because he got the stairs down at some point. They only know when the stairs went back up.
Okay.
Dan Cooper was never seen again. As the media became aware of what was happening, news outlets started reporting on the case. One of the new media stations accidentally misnamed the hijacker D.B Cooper instead of Dan Cooper. And once one of them did it, everyone else just took their word for it, and Dan Cooper became D.B Cooper. Now we're going to take a quick little break. But again, please don't leave. Don't think that you've heard the end of the story. There is so much more, including a fun little game as soon as we come back. So just wait for this ad break. If you don't want to listen to the ads, then you should join our Patreon. For just $1 a month, you get early ad-free episodes. And I mean, so many other things. We have Urban Legends. We have, at the $5 tier, like, bonus episodes and recaps for a week and this and that. It's just insane. At least go over to patreon.com/twistedanduncorked and see for yourself what we have. Be right back. Welcome back from our break. Before the break, we were talking about how Dan Cooper was misnamed by the media D.B Cooper. And so, just for fun, a little fun fact game trivia, I am going to tell you a couple names that we have been mispronouncing forever. So, these are all celebrities.
Okay.
Ariana Grande, for instance, was actually born, when she was born, her name was Ariana Grande. But Grande sounded better, it stuck, and everybody ran with it.
Really? Wow.
Yep. Camila Cabello, her name is actually Camila Cabello, which makes sense because
it's Spanish, yeah.
Right. LL is the Y sound, Camila Cabello, but Camila Cabello just kind of rolls off the tongue better.
Yeah, it's more of like an alliterative sound.
Right. Rihanna, when she was born, her mother named her Rihanna. Eva Mendes, her name is actually supposed to be Ava Mendes.
Oh.
And Alicia Silverstone, her name is actually Alicia Silverstone. Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. Just ignore me.
Back to the story. So, to date, the case of Dan Cooper is the only unsolved hijacking in America. But the crazy part is that there is actually a ridiculous amount of suspects. There were thousands of people who were on the persons of interest list, and none of them have panned out. There were cigarette butts that were the FBI collected for evidence, but they have since been lost and never were tested for DNA because DNA at the time didn't exist. There were fingerprints taken from all over the plane that nothing ever came from. Dan's bourbon and soda that he drank could have been saved for DNA testing, but it wasn't. The only thing left behind that the FBI still has and eventually used for DNA testing was Dan Cooper's tie. Nothing else from that plane. 8.5 years went by and nothing ever came of this incident. But then in 1980, an 8-year-old boy was digging at the beach on a camping trip and found $5,800 in $20 bills. His dad was like, holy fucking shit, and he called the police right away. I don't know if I would have called the police, but good for him.
Right?
And the money
what would you have done? Like,
right? Finders keepers.
I don't know what this is. Yeah.
The police came and the money was found to have had the same serial numbers as the money that was given to the hijacker on the plane. So Dan Cooper was given $200,000, but $5,800 was right here. Eventually, the police did allow 8-year-old Brian to keep $3,000 of the dollars that he had found as his reward, but still nothing ever came from the lead. By the way, he got to keep $3,000, just like, here you go. He has since sold, like, I don't know, $150 of that money, and he made like $30,000 doing so. He sold it on eBay, and just saying that this is the serial number for Dan Cooper's money, people have given him like thousands of dollars per $20 bill.
Wow.
It's fucking insane.
Well, if you're like a huge true crime fan or collector or
I don't know if I would pay thousands of dollars for a $20 bill.
I don't think I would either.
But I would pay more than $20.
Yeah. It's like, I'll give you this much money.
Right.
Please give it to me.
In 2016, the FBI formally announced that they have allocated too much money to solving this mystery, and basically it just wasn't worth it anymore. They decided to close the case, thinking whoever it was probably died when they jumped anyway. That's why the money was found. But there are still numerous people that claim to know who Dan Cooper really was. The FBI has, I assume, looked into all of these leads, but none have been definitive enough to officially say that this is solved. Many sleuths do believe it's already solved, and there is a group of Dan Cooper investigators that I agree with. So let's go over the main suspects.
Okay.
First is my absolute favorite, Loki. Just kidding. Obviously, a fictitious Marvel character didn't pull off this legendary crime, but there is a reference in the new TV series about him on Disney Plus that says that the reason they didn't find him is because they like put him through like a time warp, like he jumped off a plane and like
he's Loki,
traveled dimensions. Yes, because he's Loki. It was fucking hilarious. I loved it. Anyway, so the first. The real first main suspect that everyone went to was Richard Floyd McCoy. Ooh. 5 months after the D.B Cooper hijacking, another hijacking occurred under almost identical circumstances. The name used was James Johnson, and instead of a bomb, he had a hand grenade and a gun. In the James Johnson hijacking, he was able to take the money, and he got much more than D.B Cooper asked for as well. This hijacking was done by Richard Floyd McCoy, and he really does look like the D.B Cooper sketch. Can I share screen?
Yes.
All right, so this is the Dan Cooper sketch, and this is the Richard Floyd McCoy sketch.
Yeah.
Very similar, like right?
Yeah.
Well, everyone suspected that Richard was D.B Cooper, and he came back to try again because he lost the money the first time. Richard was not at home for Thanksgiving in the year of 1971, even though he told the police he was. There were gas receipts and phone calls made from Las Vegas, Nevada that year that he refused to explain to investigators. So it seems kind of promising.
Sketchy. Yep.
However, as D.B Cooper's story was gaining popularity, and before the second hijacking, Richard Floyd McCoy asked many of his friends, if you were D.B Cooper, how would you go about it? And he took notes, and he did research about D.B Cooper. And that's actually how he got caught for this copycat one. One of his friends called the FBI and was like, hey, my friend Richard was literally just asking me last week how to get away with doing what D.B Cooper did. And then the FBI searched his house.
It was very sketchy. I have questions.
Yeah. So it's much more likely that Richard McCoy was just a copycat. If he was D.B. Cooper and was going to go back and do it again, I don't think he would ask other people and create, witnesses about how they would do it, because he would already know how to do it.
No, yeah. Exactly.
So, the next suspect here, the next one is Dwayne Weber. His wife, Jo Weber, said that Dwayne confessed to her while he was sick and dying in the hospital. "I am Dan Cooper" were some of his very last words. Here is his picture.
Oh?
Dan Cooper and Dwayne Weber.
All right, I see that too.
Right?
Yeah. I see that too, yeah.
After Dwayne Weber's death, Jo met a young boy named Tim who was very interested in the D.B. Cooper case, and he wanted to help Jo piece together her memories about her husband to find out if he really was D.B. Cooper. Jo says that Tim is like a son to her now. A few things that are in favor of Dwayne being Dan is his picture, obviously. He had multiple fake IDs with different names on them, although none were Dan Cooper. He had been to prison in the past. He had purchased 2 new vehicles the year after the hijacking, but didn't report making enough money on his taxes to afford those cars. And he gave Jo a key to a safety deposit box to open after his death that only had a magazine inside. One of the articles in this magazine was about D.B. Cooper.
Sus.
Right, but I mean, there were also like 1,800 other articles in this magazine. There are a few other things that Jo has told about her time with her husband back when she was alive. Memories that she didn't realize at the time made him seem suspicious. But if I'm being honest, I don't know if they're actually real memories. She says that Tim
coerced
helps her.
Memories?
Yeah, she says that Tim helps her with her memories, even though she just met Tim after her husband died. Like, he wasn't there. I think that Jo wants to believe that her husband is D.B. Cooper because she gets to talk about him and remember him all day long.
Yeah.
And if she admits that he's not D.B. Cooper, then maybe there would be no reason for Tim to hang out with her anymore and she'd be lonely again.
That's really sad when you put it that way.
Yeah. I do think that her husband was a really sketchy dude. He had been arrested like 23 times in the past. But also that kind of proves that he's probably not smart enough to pull this off if he had been arrested 23 other times. So,
yeah.
I'm not sold.
It's true. It's true.
Another suspect that is a favorite among sleuths is Barbara Dayton. Barbara Dayton was born Robert, aka Bobby Dayton. Eventually, Bobby underwent gender reassignment surgery to become Barbara.
Okay.
She has always been interested in flying and actually took lessons to become a pilot.
Wow.
Once, someone told Barbara that she looked like she could be D.B. Cooper, and she got mad and said, "Never make a joke like that again." But then a few weeks later, she told that same friend that she actually was D.B. Cooper.
What the fuck? You can't get pissed and then be like, "By the way, that's me, though."
Yeah, I mean, she was like, "Don't fucking say that out loud." But then she was like, "I'm sorry I got mad. I am him, but
you got me.
Say."
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is Barbara's picture before her gender reassignment surgery. And this is D.B. Cooper. That's with glasses and without glasses.
Okay.
Yeah?
I see it a little bit too. The narrow face, I
think we're getting the idea here that Dan Cooper just looks like a fucking white man, right?
He looks like 3 different men, woman. So yeah.
He looks like a white
yes.
male. Yes. Barbara's entire family, including her parents, siblings, and daughter, still believe that she was D.B. Cooper. The evidence is the photo before her gender reassignment, the fact that no one knew of her whereabouts on that day, and that's kind of it. So the reason no one knew about her whereabouts on that day is because apparently Barbara's mother kept a very strict journal of her day-to-day life, and every Thanksgiving, going back to since she started the journals, there was something written about each of her children. Where they were for Thanksgiving, what they were doing, if they were going to come by, or where they would be if they didn't come by. In 1971, on the day before Thanksgiving and the day of Thanksgiving, Barbara's mother did not write any mention of Barbara. To her family, this is proof that Barbara chose not to tell her family where she was, so she didn't have anything to write.
Okay.
However, at the same time, some of her family members did not approve of the gender reassignment surgery. That may include her mother, we don't know. And it had just happened like the year before this Thanksgiving. So I think that it also may be a possibility that they just decided not to mention her whereabouts because they didn't ask of her whereabouts because they wanted her to be a him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the next suspect that many believe is the real Dan Cooper is Robert Rackstraw. Robert Rackstraw was an Army helicopter pilot who had experience in high-altitude, low-opening parachuting and in making explosives. He literally had every bit of needed qualifications to pull this off. At the time of the hijacking, Right. At the time of the hijacking, Robert had just been kicked out of the military at the age of 29 for lying about graduating high school. To everybody else, like, that was his motive. He didn't have a job anymore. He needed some money.
Yeah.
He had many run-ins with the law after the years after the hijacking, whether he did it or not, including owning explosives and stealing a helicopter. So you can kind of see why people are like, this is a pretty good lead.
Yeah, and also just don't fucking steal helicopters.
Yeah, don't do that. Or make explosives, please. Here is his picture. Even though we already said that Dan Cooper kind of looks like every fucking white man.
Okay. Yep. See that too.
Yeah.
He looks a little bit younger than the sketch, but yeah, I see it.
Yes. That is one of the biggest things about not being in his favor is he was only 29, and the sketch of Dan Cooper looks older than 29 to most people. Yeah. Some people thought more than others that D.B. Cooper was Robert Rackstraw. One person trying to crack the case spent about $250,000 in investigative research and time to try to prove that Robert Rackstraw was Dan Cooper. This same person went on to write a book about Robert Rackstraw called The Last Master Outlaw. And in the book, he explained that the only reason that the police didn't catch him, or at least chose not to, was because he was a CIA asset. The circumstantial evidence that this sleuth came up with is pretty damning, but even more damning is that the stewardess, Tina, was shown a picture of Robert Rackstraw, and she said that that was not the man on the plane with her. And she's the one who gave the information to make the sketch, so she would know.
Yeah. Yeah. That's wild. And did she have anything to say about the other sketches?
I don't know if the other ones were trusted well enough for her to be asked. Like, even the police were like, nah, there's no point. This guy didn't do it. But Robert Rackstraw was one of them that many people believed for a very long time until she was like, no, that's not him. Sorry. Also, again, he was too young. He was, I think he was too short or something. It just didn't fit. So here we are. The final suspect that I'm going to talk about is the newly most widely believed suspect. This is the one that a listener wrote in to And That's Why We Drink about. This man is her uncle. This is also the same one that Josh Gates talked about in Expedition Unknown. He talked about this man, this girl's uncle.
Not this man, to be clear, but this girl's uncle.
Not this man from your dreams, but this man whose name I'm about to tell you. The one who I believe is the actual Dan Cooper. And that is Walter Reca. Walter Reca was a paratrooper.
What a name. Yeah, it did. It was freaky.
Walter, are you here?
I don't like that as soon as you fucking said that, your light went.
Weird. Walter Recca was a paratrooper in the Air Force, where he learned night jumping, water jumping, rescue jumping, and combat rescues. Later, we also find out that he was some sort of spy or undercover intelligence based on his 5 passports, all having his picture but with different names for different countries too. Like there was a Saudi Arabian passport, there was an English passport. He even had a Soviet KGB ID card.
Okay, James Bond, like...
Right. And his family said that he spoke fluent Russian.
What the why would you need to speak Russian? Is this man Archer? Is he a cartoon?
Never on anyone's radar until he confessed shortly before his death. Because I told you that Dan Cooper looks like any white man.
Yes, that is correct.
Any white man except for this one.
There isn't
a much better picture of him around the same time, but like
I don't really see that.
I still think that Walter is Dan Cooper, but I think that he modified his face. Like maybe he had a fake nose, maybe he had, fake wig.
He did some sort of
yeah. Like he altered his face somehow to make it look not like this person.
Yeah. No,
anyway,
I get that.
Let me explain why I think that he is the real Dan Cooper, though. Not based on picture.
Dan Cooper, please stand up.
Exactly. I was going to say that at the end.
Were you? Okay, I'll cut that out.
No, it's fine.
I'm really embarrassed that I did it.
I loved it. So, in his extremely detailed confession, he says that he landed on Clay Elum, Washington, after having hit a tree and hurting his leg. He said that he gathered up the parachute and left it in the woods with some broken tree branches over top of it. And then he walked to the road and down the road with the raincoat bundled up in front of him with the money inside of the bundle. A trucker later backed up this story, having seen a man in a suit walking in the rain carrying a raincoat in his hands.
That would be so fucking weird to see.
He remembers it so definitively because who would walk in the rain carrying a raincoat instead of wearing it?
Yeah.
Dan Cooper when he's carrying $20,000. That's who.
Gotta keep my money dry.
$200,000.
Yeah, I don't give a shit if I'm dry or not.
Right. The same trucker then stopped in at a diner nearby, and Walter Recca came in after him with the bundle of raincoat in his hands still. So he knows it was Walter Recca carrying this bundle. And he went to use the phone. He didn't know where he was, so he asked that trucker to give his friend who was on the phone and coming to pick him up directions. This trucker is still alive and said, yes, I talked to Walter Recca's friend on the phone and gave him directions on how to get here. I didn't know what was happening, but he asked me for directions, so I gave it to him.
Wow.
This confession, starting with where he landed and onto, how he got out of there, was recorded and analyzed by an expert in voice analysis who determined that Walter Recca was being truthful in his confession.
Oh, shit.
So according to the expert, Walter did parachute into the night with money on the same day that Dan Cooper hijacked a plane. And a witness saw this take place. But some people believe that just because Walter was doing some shady parachuting shit that same night, that doesn't make him the same person as Dan Cooper. Maybe two people were parachuting
to play
that night.
devil's advocate also, but that's weird.
Right. Walter and whoever Dan Cooper is may have been parachuting at the same time, as Walter does not look like Dan Cooper. But really? You really think that's going to happen? Coincidences? I think not.
No, there's no coincidences in true crime.
My biggest question, though, is why? Why on every level? If Walter isn't Dan Cooper, why was Walter parachuting that night? If Walter is Dan Cooper, why did he do it? His family believes that all of the different identities and passports were proof that he was working as basically like a contractor or a mercenary for the CIA. So you'd think that, you know, doing that, working for the CIA, makes some pretty damn good money. So money probably wasn't the motive. And honestly, if he was working for the CIA, he probably wouldn't do anything against their direction that would piss them off. Like,
yeah, because that's how you, like, have yourself killed. Yeah.
Right. So did the CIA tell him to do it? Why? What was their gain? Was there just too many hijackings and they wanted a reason for the FBI to make plain laws? Because after Dan Cooper's hijacking, there was a whole bunch of laws in place about airplanes.
That's wild.
So weird,
kind of right? Like 9/11. Think about how many laws came into place right after 9/11. Something significant in history has to happen for that.
Right. And some people think that 9/11 was a conspiracy. Who do you think D.B. Cooper is?
I don't know. I really like Walter.
Yeah, it's got to be Walter.
It's got to be Walter.
I don't know why, but I also like to think... So, Robert Rackstraw... everyone's like, oh, he was a CIA asset. That's why they didn't catch him. He's really the one who did it. I like to think that maybe, because according to the sleuths and the investigator, Robert Rackstraw wrote letters to the FBI that were cryptid, saying things after they were uncrypted, you know, like the Zodiac type letters. After they were uncrypted, saying, yeah, it is me. But I kind of feel like Robert Rackstraw was like a scapegoat.
Yeah.
Or helped Walter Recca. Like, both of them were CIA together. And
yeah,
it
that's
was a
true.
Two-man job. One of them was on the plane, one of them was on the ground.
Yeah.
You never know. I mean, neither of them admitted
Make
to that.
Make it easier to get away with.
Yeah. Very interesting.
Yeah. How did, what's-his-face hear about this theory? Because you said it was somebody that wrote in a listener story to it, and that's why we drink. Did they hear it from there?
I mean, not from that episode, but yeah, that girl went on to Expedition Unknown. She was there. She was interviewed.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah. Okay, I must have missed that. Okay. That's really cool.
Yeah, so she's, you know, she's telling everybody. My uncle told me he was D.B. Cooper. And here's his paperwork. They showed, like, his passports and his KBG ID and everything on the episode.
So weird.
Expedition Unknown. Yeah. It's awesome.
That's cool.
I love it.
All right. Yeah, I think that's my favorite theory, because I've heard I think Barbara was my, like, other favorite.
Yeah, Barbara is my favorite just because it's Barbara.
Girl power.
You know, yes. But at the same time...
No matter how you identify, you're still a badass.
Right. At the same time, this one just makes too much sense.
Yeah. Nobody needs that many IDs.
No. And why would you work for the KGB? And why would you have such a detailed account? And why is there a witness? There's a fucking witness.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, why is it not solved?
I mean, I'm always nervous about witness accounts, though, because sometimes they are unreliable or embellished, but I like this one.
Well, the two didn't, like, talk to each other. Like, Walter Recca was literally in the hospital dying when he gave his confession by phone to a friend. And the friend recorded the whole thing. After Walter Recca died, they were like, we need to find this trucker. And they did. They found him, and they were like, hey, what happened? And everything that he said matched the confession.
So it all came together.
Yeah, so it's, like, that's the way an investigation works, baby. This
but
is
do you
solved.
think... Yeah.
This is solved.
So why...
The why is the unknown part. The motive is the unknown part. And... my conspiracy brain says, well, the CIA needed more laws. That's why. The FBI didn't solve it because they agreed to the laws.
Yeah.
I think he buried all of the
shady shit
money.
has been happening on planes forever. So.
Yeah.
I think he start with him, and it's not going to end with him. So.
I think he probably buried all of the money eventually and was like, you know, they're going to pay me anyway. Why would I keep these untraceable bills? And the CIA is a bunch of idiots, and when they went to go dig it up, they left $5,800, and Brian found it. Like, on accident.
Yeah. And then made a shit ton of money himself.
Yeah. It's crazy, though.
Yeah. I like it. You did a good job.
Thank you.
You did a really good job.
I hope all of you listeners were able to get a little more from this D.B Cooper case than all of the other ones you've listened to. Also, again, tomorrow, if you're listening to this when it comes out, is the 50th anniversary of the Dan Cooper plane hijacking. So, that's
so
cool.
Perfect.
Talk about that at Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Tell your friends and family about how cool Twisted and Uncorked is.
Yeah, do that too.
We hope you have a really good Thanksgiving with your family.
Yep.
Super and let us know your theory. Who do you think Dan Cooper is?
Yeah. I would love to be proven wrong.
Yep.
Tell me why it wasn't Walter Recca.
Because that's a really fucking cool theory.
Yeah. It's solved.
Yeah. That just, makes too much sense.
Yeah. I don't know why he doesn't look like the picture, other than he had
I like your theory of
face.
a disguise.
Yeah.
Because it's very common that people that worked for Secret Service agencies would disguise themselves because their lives are at risk. So, most of the time at least. So, very cool. And he was so cool. Comfortable talking with the stewardess. There's no way he wouldn't try and hide himself in some way.
Oh, yeah. Also, Walter Recca said that the bomb was not a bomb. It was fake.
Oh, of course.
The Robert Rackshaw theory that, he would be able to make a bomb. He didn't need to make a bomb. It was a fake bomb.
Yeah. You can instill just as much fear with a fake bomb than you can with a real one.
Same with a fake gun. People do it all the time.
Yeah, right? I have no pockets, but you got what I meant.
Yes.
Thank you guys so much for listening. As per usual, Sierra is a very talented storyteller, and you should go leave us a 5-star review as a result on your favorite podcast listening platform. If you would like a little thank you in the mail from us, you can send us a screenshot of that review on either social media or via email at twisteduncorked@gmail.com. And if you want to support the show further, you can head on over to patreon.com/twistedanduncorked. Like Sierra said, we unleash a lot of very cool episodes every month, and we've got 2 new bonus segments coming out that are already out or coming out, so enjoy. Go check those out. And
it makes
follow us on social media.
Christmas gift too. Patreon,
yeah.
Gift our Patreon to your friends. They'll love it.
I love that. Happy Thanksgiving. We are thankful for all of you. So follow us on the social medias. Don't hijack any planes. And
unless you can get away with it and don't harm anyone. Fucking my favorite crime ever. So
do you have a what day is it?
I do actually. Yes.
I didn't know if the D.B Cooper anniversary was going to be your...
That's part of it, but I have a little more. So today is November 23rd, obviously. Tomorrow is the anniversary of D.B Cooper, but today, on November 23rd in 1936, Robert Leroy Johnson recorded his very first songs, which happened to influence the blues music genre for generations to come. Sadly, he died just 2 years later at the age of 27, joining the 27 Club, and some people believe that he died at this age because he sold his soul to the devil.
Oh.
If you want to hear more about the 27 Club, our friend Amanda Goodness from Drinking the Kool-Aid actually covered that at one point, and it was awesome.
Oh, yeah. Check that out. Yeah. I forgot she did that. That's a fucking weird theory.
It's awesome. Yeah. I love it.
Yeah.
I'm so glad I'm not 27 anymore.
I know! We were talking about that right before our birthdays. We're like, I don't want to be a part of the 27 Club. Yeah. And if you are listening and you are 27, you are almost through it. Don't worry.
Yeah, please do not sell your soul to the devil. Just wait one more year.
Yeah. And then be part of Hot Girl 28.
Yes.
Or Hot Guy. Or Hot Non-Binary. We don't care. Thank you guys so much for listening. Go leave that 5-star review. We will see you next week for another episode. In the meantime, don't hijack any planes. Be super cool and mysterious like D.B Cooper, though. And in the meantime,
keep it twisted.
Thank you for listening to Twisted and Uncorked Podcast. Remember, if you like the show, to go leave us a 5-star rating and review. We couldn't do it without you guys. Now stay tuned to hear about another cool podcast.
Hi, I'm Carly.
And I'm Tara.
And we are the Haunted Housewives. If you enjoy tales of sexy Mothman, historical hauntings, dark humor, and the macabre, then tune in wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Stay barefoot and haunted.